Hello, and you're very welcome to another episode of Why the Long Face, a podcast with me, Horse O'Keefe. Come here, lads, I have a question for you. Are you working hard or are you hardly working? This week I'm talking about working and jobs and all the lovely things that entails. So I'm gonna talk a bit about some of the jobs that I've done, because in my limited time on this planet, I've done very weird jobs, and it seems to be a very extreme range. It is very random, the amount of things that I've actually done. Going to talk about kind of what jobs I might like to do in the future, and then I'm just going to talk about the attitude that we should adopt in relation to working and having jobs and that kind of thing. And that's both as someone who maybe a young person who's doing a job that they're not particularly interested in, or a job where they're not treated particularly well, and it's also for people who are in a higher level, in management and stuff, and just maybe kind of hopefully change the way you look at things, or just put something in your brain as to, oh, maybe I should look at it this way. So without further ado, the first job I ever had, and it wasn't really an official job, it was just something I was kind of doing, was I wouldn't go as far as saying I was an electrician, but I was working with an electrician. He also happened to be my uncle, but that doesn't matter. So I'd basically go around with him in the van, and I was doing, run to the van there, get this, get that. Eventually I would end up climbing ladders, and I'd always end up in a fucking attic, because obviously 15, 16, I was small, so I could crawl through all the fucking spaces. I remember I was working in this house in Dublin one time, and there was only one way to get up into the attic, and we were working in the room that was the furthest away from the fucking attic. So I had to go up, say in the furthest down side of the house, and then crawl the entire way down. And the amount of fucking mice and fucking spiders and cobwebs and all sorts of things that I came across was just, even now talking about it, it's still pretty fucking traumatic, to be honest. It just, it brings back bad memories. But to be fair, I did that on and off for a long time. To be fair, because he's my uncle, I've done a lot of work with him, and we always kind of say that he can never fully fire me and I can never fully quit. There's been times where I've gotten fucking sick to death of him, and I fucked him out of it, or he's fucked me out of it, and I've stopped working with him for a while. But he can, I said, because we're family, he can never fully get rid of me, and I can never really fully stop working for him either. Next job that I kind of did, I don't even know what the official title for it is. I just wrote down Bouncy Castle Man, because basically I would go around in the van with the lads and collect the bouncy castles and drop off the bouncy castles and put up the old fucking marquees and all that crack. Now, that sounds like a great job, and it was quite fun, but the amount of times that I kick someone in the head, it's to put down a bouncy castle, obviously you deflate it and then you have to roll it up, and then so you had one lad kind of rolling it and you were kind of standing on it to get the air out of it, and the amount of times I kneed that poor man in the head. And to be fair, he never actually got angry at me, but I've definitely caused him some sort of long-lasting brain damage. The other issue with that job was, I'm not a particularly strong person. I don't mean mentally, I mean physically. Physically, I'm fucking weak as shit. So we went out to UL one time putting up this massive marquee, and all the other lads would be there, and they'd be carrying 4 or 5 of these big massive metal poles for putting up the skeleton of the marquee, I suppose you'd call it, or whatever, the base of it. And I was there barely able to kind of hold on to fucking one of them. So that was the last time I was asked to work for those lads, which is entirely understandable. I don't hold any ill will towards them. I wouldn't go back and do it now either, because my strength has not increased in any way, shape or form. Then I went into TY then, and I kind of had to do a bit of work experience and stuff like that. And at the time, I was really interested in being a chef. I thought, oh yeah, I love cooking, which I do, and I still do. And I was like, oh, I'd love to be a chef. I think being a chef would just be unreal. I get to learn how to cook all things all fancy and all that, and it would be great. I went and I did a week in the kitchen, and that just completely destroyed the dream for me. Now, again, I'm very, very grateful, because if I hadn't done the work experience, I probably could have potentially gone to college and tried to be a chef, and then realised halfway through that I didn't like it. It's just an extremely stressful job. It's not fun. And like, again, because I was like 16, 17 at the time, I wasn't doing that much. I was basically making sandwiches or frying chips and all that kind of thing, and basically running up and down between the kitchen and the carvery and all that kind of stuff. Basically all the shit jobs. But still, I saw the amount of stress and like pressure that the other chefs were under, and I was like, not for me. I'm not good under stress, and I'm not good under pressure. But then again, pressure's for tire and brass straps, so you know. Then I think it was fifth year, I somehow managed to do a week's work experience in the UTV studios in Belfast. My dad had a friend who like lived and worked in Belfast, and they were always talking on the phone in work and stuff, and Dad just happened to mention that I was really interested in film and TV, and his friend happened to then be like, okay, look, well, I know people in UTV, I know they do these weeks of work experience. So I basically went, again, I was like 17 at the time, went up to Belfast, stayed with this guy for a week who had a fucking massive house. Like, it was ridiculous. I'd say the man is fucking made of money. Like, the first day I was there, Mum and Dad had gone away. I was just chilling out, kind of putting my stuff away in the room I was staying in or whatever. I looked out the window, his brother pulled up in a fucking Ferrari, and I was like, what the fuck is going on at all? I felt so out of place, because I was just there like tracksuit pants and a t-shirt, like a fucking Guns N' Roses t-shirt, and I hadn't a clue what to say to the man. But that like week of work experience was fucking great. It's probably one of the best like work experience things that I've ever done, ever. Like, I got to try out a bit of news reading. I got to use the cameras. We got to see the editing suite. We got to see the whole lot. It was fucking so good. I was there early one morning, and a guy was going out. There was some sort of knife crime or something like that, and he was going out like just to get a bit of B-roll footage, so like off the road where it happened and stuff. And because I was sat in the reception, he was like, oh, you're on work experience. I was like, yeah. He goes, right, come on in the car with me. So, and I fucked off for about an hour, just like shooting random streets around Belfast. It was just like an amazing experience. Little tangent, I just remembered a very weird random story. So the guy that I was staying with, he was an absolute gentleman. He took me to the cinema one night, and I can't remember the name of the cinema, but it wasn't like it wasn't showing like the mainstream films at the time. It was like an art house cinema, and we went to see this film called Le Suite Francais, which was it was a French film. It was subtitled, and he told me that it was about like the war and stuff like that. And I was like, yeah, grand, look, I'll go and watch it. It turns out, like, yeah, fair enough, it was about the war, but it was more for kind of a romance film, and there was a lot of sex scenes in it, and it was just very weird. It was very weirdly kind of uncomfortable, because I was there, and this guy was probably, I'm gonna say, late 40s, early 50s. It was just one of those weird things where we didn't mention that the sex scenes were in it or anything. And then when we went back to the house, like, his wife and his daughter were there, and they were like, oh, look, where'd you go? What did you go do? And we're like, oh, I went to the cinema. Oh, what you see? Le Suite Francais. The two women had seen it the day before, so they knew exactly what we had just watched. And yeah, it was all just very, very, very awkward, very strange. But anyway, look, there you go. That's a random fucking anecdote in the middle of my jabs. What other jabs have I done? Anyway, moving on. I basically just watched fucking soft porn with a guy that I had never met, and I was just living in his house. Anyway, jump forward to Leaving Cert. I didn't do a great Leaving Cert, and I didn't get into the college I wanted to do, so I decided I was going to take a year out, and I got a job in there's like a local business back home that's like pretty much like one of the biggest employers in that town. So I just got like a job in an office. I somehow basically ended up as like a very shit accountant, but I was in the accounts office, and it started off as me just like scanning paperwork all day every day, just like boxes and boxes of paperwork, just scanning it and scanning it and scanning it, so that they would have like records of the old paperwork basically, and that's all I was doing. I felt like an awful bollocks in my first couple of weeks, because I was still going in with like a shirt and like a good pants and like suit shoes and stuff, and like, because that's what everyone else in the office was wearing. But of course everyone else in the office was like on the phones and doing emails and like talking to other businesses about like the accounts and stuff, and I was just there in a shirt and pants scanning paperwork. So eventually I fucked off the shirt and the pants. I still wore clothes. I wasn't like butt ass naked in the office or anything. But then eventually they actually started giving me like little accounts to kind of manage and do that stuff, and I fucking hated it, because I have absolutely no interest in accounting or anything like that. There was too much maths involved. I'm fucking god awful at maths. Why they gave me that job in the first place, I don't know. But anyway, I did that for a year. That was fine. Left that so that I go to college for a year, and then I went back again. I basically just put my CV back into the same business, but they put me in a call center. Now, I lied my way through the interview because I needed a job and I needed money. I've probably mentioned this before. I have like extreme anxiety about talking on the phone. Like, I absolutely hate talking on the phone. I don't know why. I just have like an irrational fear of talking on the phone. Absolutely hate it. I ended up working in that call center for 2 years. And like, it was fucking horrific because like, if it was quiet, like, you'd be sit there and you'd be talking, but like, you're basically just waiting for a call to come in. Eventually, when it was busy, you'd just be call after call after call after call after call. And it was just like, the company was like a food distribution company, so it was basically like restaurants and hotels and places like that would ring, like the chefs would ring you and they'd put in the orders for the food. And it's one thing that even to this day genuinely annoys me. I don't understand how you can be a chef and not pronounce like food things right. Like, there was this one lad, I used to get him all the time. We used to sell like a 3 kilo bucket of jalapenos in like, you know, chopped up, ready to go, right? Every fucking week without fail, he'd ring me up and he'd be like, yeah, can I get the 3 kilo of the jalapenos? And I'd be like, or I used to get worse, it'd be jalapenos. He'd ask me for fucking jalapenos. I'd be like, what the fuck are jalapenos? Like, now again, because I was so riddled with anxiety when I was there, I had very little patience on the phone. And then when people started shouting at me, that I didn't appreciate that. So I eventually left that job because like, I was still living at home at the time, and I wanted to move out and I wanted to move into the big city. So I did, and I got a job in a clothes shop. Again, I don't know, like, the amount of jobs I've done versus the amount of jobs that I've actually liked doing. I think probably out of all the jobs, there was one job that I've actually liked doing. Like, I hated working in a clothes shop because it was a fucking one of these fucking high-end notiony bullshit shops where you go in a plain t-shirt with a fucking logo on it, cost you fucking 40 quid. Like, I've no interest in that. And the customers, again, are so fucking stupid. Like, customer came in one time and she was like, oh, do you see that red jacket there? I was like, yeah. Is that the only version of it you have? I was like, yeah, no, sorry, that's like, it's just like, it just comes in the red. And she was like, oh, I think it'd be nicer in blue. And then she just stopped and stared at me for a good 20 seconds. And I was just like, what the fuck do you want me to do about it? Like, the jacket only comes in red. What do you want me to, like, just stupid shit? Or I don't know why I'm not saying the names of the companies, because I feel like I'm going to get in trouble, but I probably won't. It was Superdry that I worked in, right? And a woman came in one time and she was like, do you have any waterproof jackets? No, we just didn't have any waterproof jackets. None of them we had were waterproof. They were described as rainproof, so like, you could get a bit of rain on them, you'd be fine, but eventually it'd soak through, right? And I was like, no, sorry, we don't have any waterproof jackets. And she goes, am I missing something? And I was like, sorry, what? And she was like, is this some sort of joke? Your name is Superdry. And I was like, it's just a brand name. And she fucking took off. She took off on a 10-minute rant about how it was false advertising and how it's ridiculous that we don't have waterproof jackets. And I just kind of stood there and I was like, oh yeah, oh god, yeah. Our manager's not here at the moment, but I'll definitely pass on your complaint. Like, fuck off. No, the only lucky thing about that was I happened to get the job 2 weeks before the second lockdown, third lockdown, some of the lockdowns anyway. So the amount of time that I got the COVID payment longer than I actually worked in the place, which was great because I just basically saved a lot of money whilst I was in college. Don't have that fucking money now, but anyway, that's a whole other fucking story. So then I left there and I went to work in, no, I'm not going to say the name of the company because I'm still there and I don't want to get fired. But I basically work in a second-hand like electronic goods store. They sell like phones and games and DVDs and all that kind of thing, and that was great. And I went up the ranks fairly quickly. I went from retail assistant to supervisor within a month of being in the company. So I was a supervisor from September till Christmas. And to be honest, this section of my life story is probably the main reason why I wanted to do this topic on the podcast. So the whole reason why I left college was because I wanted more time to basically do what I wanted to do. In college, I felt like I couldn't do the work that I wanted to do. So I was like, if I leave college and I just have like a part-time job or a full-time job, whatever, I can put all my spare time into doing like the videos and the whatever else that I want to do. But because I ended up getting a supervisor role, that was just, it was like I found it very, very stressful. And I basically couldn't shut off my brain. So I come home in the evenings and I'd still be freaking out. Like, did I close the shop right? Did I count up all the money correctly? Am I going to cause war tomorrow? And it just really, really affected my mental health. Now, at the same time, I was going through other mental health things. Like I had just kind of taken a bit of a dip. So that wasn't really helping. And it all just kind of really, really, really affected my mental health. To the point where the January of this year, I took 2 weeks off. Like paid leave, like mental health leave. And then that 2 weeks ended up turning into about a month and a half. When I went back, I stepped down to sales assistant again. And I went part-time so that I would have time to do the things I wanted to do. This podcast being one of them. That's why this podcast started in the middle of January, was because I knew I had the time to do it, and I'd started counselling again. And I basically knew that if I wanted to do the stuff I wanted to do, I had to put the time into it. I can't have a full-time job and try and, do all my online content stuff. So that basically brings me up to now. I'm still in the company, I'm still working away. What I want to move on to now is the idea of kind of like doing jobs that you like and jobs that you don't like. And I feel like the attitude towards working is very, very wrong in this country. But before that, actually, before that, I'm going to do the movie of the week, because I haven't done that in a while. So my movie of the week this week is a film called Empire Records, and it was one that I actually hadn't heard of. I watched it a couple of weeks back. It's basically, it was a film that was made in the mid-90s, and it's about just a group of young ones who work in a record shop. But that's why I kind of think it's sort of apt for this week's topic, because like they're all kind of going through different things. Like one of them is trying to get into college, one of them is struggling like relationship wise, one guy ends up fucking stealing a lot of money. But it's about how like a workplace can be a very good place or a very bad place depending on who's running it and like who you work with. But apart from, it's just a really kind of, it's funny and it's a kind of weirdly wholesome towards the end. It's got there's a lot of actors in it that you kind of recognize. It's got Liv Tyler in it, like a very young Liv Tyler and a very young Renee Zellweger. Yeah, I had never ever heard of it. It was suggested to me. I genuinely really, really enjoyed it. Like, you're kind of laughing at some parts, and then there are other parts that are kind of a bit serious, but they're not done in a very, very, very serious way. Like there's still this very kind of playful, teenagey tone throughout the whole thing. But no, I really, really, really enjoyed it. I'd highly recommend you watch it if you can find it somewhere. So now, the mental health bit. I feel like there's a lot of pressure on people to do jobs, especially young people. Like, you either try and have a job when you're in college or straight out of college and stuff, and a lot of us will just end up getting jobs that we don't really care about. Like, some people obviously do like want to work in clothes shops and like working in clothes shops, or like working in cafes or bars and all that stuff, and that's perfectly fine. But a lot of the time we basically just find the first job that'll take us. But the issue is, or the issue that I have found, is that when you're a young person or when you're like a new person in a job, you get given all the really shit things to do. There's a fierce amount of pressure put on you, and you get paid fuck all for it. And we're basically expected to take that. And I think that's bullshit. Like, your job should not affect your mental health in any way, shape, or form. You should be able to get up, go to work, do your job, come home. You shouldn't be going to work riddled with anxiety about going into the place. Like, you shouldn't be having fucking panic attacks whilst at work. Like, it's somewhere that you have to go maybe 4 or 5 times a week. You shouldn't be dreading going to the place. I'm very much of that opinion of, and it's a fucking really old saying, but if you like the job that you do, you never actually work a day in your life. That's why I'm so invested in starting my own business and doing my own thing. But like, it's basically, you need to know your worth. It shouldn't matter that you're young. It shouldn't matter that you're new in the job. None of that should matter. You should be treated equally, regardless of how long you're in the company, regardless of your age, regardless of your gender, regardless of any of that. And if a workplace says, oh, we treat you equally, doesn't matter, 9 times out of 10, that's fucking shit. Like, it's very, very important that you know your own worth. There's absolutely nothing wrong with you starting a job, being there for 2 weeks, realizing that you don't like it, and leaving. Now, again, I understand. I'm not talking financially. I know sometimes financially you have to stay in a job. That's fine. And again, it's like a lot of the things I say. It's a lot easier said than done. And I'm just talking very generally. Obviously, like, each individual's situation is different, and that's fine. I just mean in like the grand scheme of things. If you're not happy in a place, look for something else and leave. You don't owe the people in work anything. You have to put your happiness first. You have to put your mental health first. Like, obviously I suffered with my mental health for a fairly long time, and it's only been in the most recent job that I'm in that company, where I felt like my mental health has actually been understood. Like, I've thought back since to, like, so obviously, like I said, I took basically a month and a half off in January. And it was because of my manager that, like, I did that. I didn't even think that was an option. It was him that encouraged me to do it and said, look, take time out, mind yourself, please. I don't think if I was working in any of the other places that I have worked in, that would be an option to me. Like, in one of the places I worked, I asked them, was there such thing as mental health leave? And they were like, what? No, that's not a thing. You just have to get a sick note from your doctor. And again, unfortunately, whole other topic, but it's very hard to get a mental health note from your doctor. And I hate this fucking attitude of, oh, young people these days are lazy, and young people don't know how to work, and young people don't stick at jobs. That's because we, like, for majority of the part, we do know our self-worth. We don't want to be treated like shit in a job. It, again, like I said, it shouldn't matter what age you are. Most people will be like, okay, well, I'm being treated like shit here, I'm going to leave. Again, this is like, just very generally speaking, I understand that, like, like finances does come into it, and that's perfectly okay. But us knowing what we want and how we want to be treated doesn't equal us being lazy. It's two very separate things. Yeah, of course, there's a fucking, like, small degree of us that are lazy, and that's fine. That's how it works. Or there's, like, this, it's just this nonsense, like, that, oh, like, you wouldn't have had that back in my day. No, we started working and that was it. We were happy to have a job. It's not that we're not happy to have a job. But again, I think, like, this generation is starting to understand mental health a lot more, and we're not willing to compromise our mental health for a job, especially a job, like I said, that pays fuck all. They give you fuck all hours, but in the hours that you are there, you are basically doing, like, the job of 4 people. I mean, the other side of it that I think a lot of people are forgetting is that we've just spent basically 2 years in lockdown, where, like, we couldn't see people, we couldn't, like, vast majority of us couldn't work. Like, that built up a lot of social anxiety for a lot of people. And, like, sometimes, like, now young people could be like, they've just gone back to school, they've just finished school, and now they're being, like, thrust into jobs where they're, like, dealing with people all the time. That's very difficult. That is extremely difficult. If it's something you're not used to, and especially if it's something that you haven't been doing and haven't been practicing. Like, fair enough now, yeah, I'm good behind the till. I can talk shit with fucking majority of the people that come into the shop. That's fine, because I'm used to that. I know I'm well able to talk shit. But there's other people who started in the job and they're extremely nervous because, again, they haven't done it in the last couple of years. They're not used to it. You know, or like when someone kicks off, oh, fuck it, I cannot stand that. When a customer kicks off and they genuinely take it as like that you have a personal vendetta against them. Like if you, I don't know, you can't do a refund or something like that because they don't have a receipt and they fucking hate you for absolutely, like they fucking go through you for absolutely no reason. Now, again, through having like dealt with it multiple times, I don't take it personally. But like a lot of people do. So if you're listening to this and you're the kind of fucking Karen that will fucking start on someone, yes, it might be annoying that you can't fucking refund the fucking t-shirt that you bought because you bought the wrong size. Or you can't refund the fucking game that you bought because you bought it for PS4 and your child doesn't have a PS4. Right? Just actually listen to what the staff member is saying. Don't just immediately fly off the handle. Plus, you have absolutely no idea what that person is going through. Like, you have no idea what that staff member is going through. That staff member could be having the worst time of their life, like in a mental health place. And you're coming in and you're flying off at them for absolutely no reason other than the fact that you fucked up. And you're pissed off and you can't get your money back. Right? Like 9 times out of 10, there are ways to help you. But if a customer flies off the handle at me, I don't bother helping them. I just tell them to get the fuck out. Because I don't need to deal with their shit. Why should I help them if they're going to be a dickhead to me? Like, I think people forget that, like, we're all going through a majority of the same shit. It could be to different degrees, fair enough. But, like, we're all living the same life. We're all living in the same country. We're all going through, like, a fair amount of the same shit. And I guarantee you, if it was the other way around, the fucking Karen wouldn't appreciate it if I started roaring and shouting at them in their job. I don't, like, there's, like, this shit of, you're just, like, the shop worker, you're beneath me, you have to serve me, I fucking, like, if it wasn't for me, I wouldn't pay your wages, all that nonsense. Fuck that attitude, it's so fucking stupid. Like I said, we're all going through the same shit, we're all living on the same fucking planet, we all understand what's going on. Treat people with fucking respect, lads. It's not that hard. This nonsense of you're beneath me or I'm above you, that's not gonna get you fucking nowhere. Like, it's stupid, and it happens all the time. I've literally had what's the male version of a Karen? Fucking Chad or something. I don't know. Fuck. I had a man come in anyway, and he fucking flew off the handle because he had basically broken his phone and wanted to return it. And I was like, can't. He's like, do you realise who I am? Do you realise how much money I make? Do you realise how much money I bring into this country? I said, no, I don't. I don't know who you are. Like, why does that matter? This fella went off in some fucking tangent about how he gets all the brand new iPhones brought into him and he makes all this money for the country. And I was like, look, to be honest, that, like, that makes no odds to me. It makes absolutely no odds to me. At 6 o'clock, I'm going to walk out that door. I'll never see you again. And it won't make a blind bit of difference to me. But the fact that you're fucking pissing me off now, that's what I'm dealing with. I don't understand why people have these fucking attitudes and people just fly off the handle for absolutely no reason. Again, I do understand that people have stuff going on. But I have stuff going on a fair amount of the time. I don't fly off the handle of people. I go into a shop. You know, if I am getting a refund or I'm trying to take something back or something, if they say they can't do it because, like, I don't have the receipt or because I'm gone past the thing, that's just my tough shit. It's just life and it's unfortunate. But there's absolutely no point in flying off the handle at the poor fucker who's behind the till, who, to be fair, it's not even his fault. It's just his company's policy. He's just telling me that. It's not like when I'm like, I can't refund that. That's not me personally deciding, I can do it, I just don't like you and I'm choosing not to do it. And you flying off the handle and you roaring and shouting at me, that's not going to change the fact that you don't have your receipt and I can't physically refund it. Just, everyone needs to fucking step back and take a fucking chill pill and just fucking relax a small bit. I do apologise, I did pretty much what I do every fucking week and I went off on a complete tangent and a complete rant and forgot what I was saying. Basically, don't excuse being treated like shit in a job. Because there's absolutely no need for it. It's and like I'm a fucker for it, and I've done it so many times. I've been like, oh, okay, well, my manager is stressed, or there's a lot going on. It'll change, and it won't change. If you allow them to treat you like shit, they're gonna keep treating you like shit and keep getting you to do the same stuff that you're doing. There's absolutely nothing wrong with telling a manager or a supervisor, I'm not capable of doing all this work at the moment. I can do this job and then move on. I can't do 2 jobs or 3 jobs at the one time. That's okay. Like, that's perfectly allowed. They can't force fucking 10 jobs on you and expect you to get them all done, because it's not realistic, and there's more chance of you fucking up. Whereas if you turn around and you say, look, you have to give me 4 jobs to do at the same time, will you just let me do this one first, and I can put all my time and attention into this one, and then I can move on to the next one and the next one. And if they have an issue with it, well, then they're just a fucking bad manager. I'm sorry, but you just are. And if a job is affecting your mental health, you do not need to stay there. Again, I can hear people being like, oh, it's not that easy, Horse. Like, I need money. I understand you need money. That's perfectly fine. What I'm saying is, you don't owe them anything to stay there. If they're fucking with your mental health, you're better off just moving on and trying to find something else. It's the same as anything I say on this podcast. I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. It's the same as anything I say on this podcast. I'm talking very generally. Obviously, different people, different situations, that's fine. But it's getting into the mindset of, I don't have to put up with shit just because I'm young or just because I'm new in the job. It doesn't matter. Your mental health is your priority over anything else. Money shouldn't come into it. Anything like that. Put yourself first. Put your mental health first. Because there are companies out there that do care. It's hard to find them, but they do. And if you can be grounded in yourself and understanding yourself that you're the priority, the money isn't the priority, then ultimately you'll end up feeling a lot better in yourself. Because if you know your own self-worth, if you know what you're worth, and if you know what you can bring, and you know your capabilities, and you work within that, you'll go so much further. So before I finish up, just wanted to, I threw in a little bit there on TikTok where I was like, just to look at me, what job would you say I do? So I got a couple of different answers. Someone said tattoo apprentice. Now, fair enough, I'm covered in tattoos, and I love tattoos, but I cannot draw for shit. I can't even draw a straight line. I can barely draw a straight line with a ruler. That's how fucking bad it is. You do not want me tattooing you, like, at all. Like, just, yeah, no. If you want a really, really, really shit tattoo for some reason, then yeah, I could probably do it, but I'd probably end up killing someone, or like going too deep and hitting a fucking vein. I don't even know if that's how it works. Probably isn't. Anyway, me and tattoo artists, no. I have to look for it, yeah. I also feel like I'd end up going on fucking tangents and end up forgetting about the tattoo and just talking absolute waffle for fucking 4 hours, and then you'd end up having like a quarter of a tattoo done. Someone said mechanical engineer. I don't know where they're getting that from. Couldn't do that at all. It's just absolutely, I don't even know what it entails, to be honest. It's just not. There's many things that go on in my brain. Mechanical engineering is absolutely not one of them. Someone else said architect. Funnily enough, the mother used to tell me that I should be an architect, because when I was younger I used to be drawing houses and drawing all sorts of things. And I would assume that she thought that my drawing would improve. It hasn't. Again, I just cannot draw for shit. I understand the irony of not being able to draw and being in an art college for 3 years. I don't know how I got in there. It baffles me to this day that I was in art college and I genuinely can't draw. So being an architect, again, probably wouldn't work. And I understand that it's all graphic, like it's all done probably digitally now and all that. But again, I can't even draw a straight line with a ruler. So unless you want a fucking lopsided house, being an architect, not a good job. Someone said barber. No, to be honest, that's actually a job that I wouldn't mind doing if I could. I tried cutting my hair during lockdown. So I like did like a short back and sides. And to be fair, it did not look too bad, like, at all. It actually came out fairly alright. And then I just, like, the following day, I wasn't, like, very happy with, like, the line at the back, kind of like with the where I had tried to fade it. So I went at it again, and I completely fucked it up, and I ended up having to shave my entire head. Again, I realised that, like, as a barber, you would get training and all that, and that's fine. But no. Yeah, no, barber wouldn't be for me. Again, I'd be able for all the crack and all the chats and all that, that'd be perfectly grand. But again, your haircut would end up taking about an hour and a half, because I'd end up just talking the ear off you. Someone said that art can be done, or art can be anything other than straight lines. That's fine, but like I said, if I can't draw a straight line, what fucking hope have I drawn anything else? The only thing artist I could be, I could be a government artist and I could draw the dole. That's a stupid little joke. Right, so that's pretty much all I have to say on jobs. So for next week, lads, just have a think about, are you happy where you're working? Are you being treated fairly? And are you prioritising yourself and your mental health? Be good and mind yourselves.